Good evening, or morning, whenever you're watching this. It's Doodly Squatch, and got another Draw Me a Robot prompt that we're gonna watch today. So here we go. So today's drawing is brought to you by Draw Me a Robot. The challenge is presented by Sketched_reality. His name's Brandon, and he does a lot of Pokemon robot prompts, and I've done a number of them over the years. It's been interesting kind of going back and looking at them. I have had an Instagram for like 8 or 9 years, something like that. And Draw Me a Robot, they've been doing challenges for probably about as long, probably 7 or so years. But it's been quite the ride. It's really fun doodling. It's become a running joke that I never make it to like the final 3 or anything like that. So pardon me. I still have a bit of a cold or something going on with my throat. But yeah, so my son, who is now old enough to have his own Instagram and follow similar people and all that, he even laughs at it. He's, you go through, you vote, people vote on which drawing should move forward, and either just through unlucky pairing where I get pitted against someone who's obviously better than me, or just, I don't know, better concept, better execution, that sort of stuff. I don't get very far in them, and but that's okay, because more so it's a fun community. It's not like people are winning money or anything. It's mostly just street cred and stickers and things like that. It's been nice to also be the one to come up with the prompts occasionally. Eric's very cool about that, reaching out to me and having me come up with a doodle prompt or that sort of thing. But this year I decided to go with a Tangela, because I love drawing masses of coils and cords and that sort of thing. I think what usually fouls me up when it comes to drawing robots is I worry about being symmetrical or making them look like they, I don't know, like they function in the real world or things like that. But in looking at some of my past doodles, I once did a Weezing with some smokestacks. I think that's the I don't know, Alolan or one of them. It's the one with the hats. And then I believe that same year I also did a Haunter. I think I ended up submitting the Haunter. But I recall one time also doing a Machamp. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun messing with kind of the pose on that one. But, good opportunity just to talk about, Pokemon in general. My sort of experience with Pokemon started, right at the beginning. I had received a gold Game Boy Pocket for Christmas one year. And it was maybe a year or 2 later that Pokemon came out, and I received Pokemon Red, and my younger brother Ben got Pokemon Blue. And I started up my save file. My starter was Squirtle. And it's funny because I frequently have chosen grass types since then, grass or fire when it came to later Pokemon. Funny enough, Red was the only game I played up until about, I can't remember. It was whichever one came out first. I think it was X and Y. No, Black and White. I think Black and White. I don't know. Anywho, so I didn't play Gold or Silver or Ruby or Sapphire or Pearl or all those other ones. I didn't touch another Pokemon game till it was on the DS. And it was, I'm okay with that, because my general beef with Pokemon is, they started off strong, 150 really interesting, diverse kind of creatures, and then it seems like every generation they throw in a handful, but you're still going to see that original 150 over and over and over. And, even now, playing like Sword and Shield and, what did I play? Scarlet. I feel like any Pokemon that even I'm like, oh, this must be a new one. I find out, no, they've been around since freaking like Gold or something like that. I feel like there's just not enough new or interesting Pokemon. Like they shoot their wad on the starters, and then whatever additional ones they make are just iterations of older ones. Palmy, I liked Palmy, but Palmy's just freaking Pikachu. It's or I don't know. And some of them they just got like one gimmick, like Schmeargle, or there's no more, not a lot of like Pokemon that have a full 3 forms outside of the starters, and then the ones that they've just sort of recycled from previous ones, like Ghastly and Alakazam, that kind of stuff. I feel like there's still some interesting ones. I like Mimikyu. Obviously it's nothing new, but just the look of it. I love doodling Mimikyu. I've got quite a few that I've done, but I've got one to include for the editor to toss in. Also, one year I took part in a different challenge, and I made a Pokemon trainer card with myself wearing a Mimikyu hoodie. But I don't know. It's funny because I find myself going back to kind of the original 151 a lot when it comes to these challenges, because they had the most, I don't know, interesting, standouty kind of things, or in the art world they have a really good silhouette. Think of the, who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! Yeah, that thing. Because they have really good silhouettes, and you're able to recognize them, and they have, an obvious look. One thing I've done a couple of times is I'll take the outline of a Pokemon and try and redraw it within that outline. I did it with an Oddish and a Bulbasaur, Jigglypuff. I did one with a Gengar, but that's just kind of a fun exercise regardless. I like to do that with a number of things. Even like my local gas station here, they'll have like a coloring page for the kids for like Christmas or Halloween with their sort of like mascot, and you can color on it, and I always go whole hog and fiddle with them and be kind of crazy with it. It's fun because when there's a good foundation for something that's been drawn, it lends itself easily to be sort of improved upon or that sort of thing. Like with this Tangela here, I love the idea of just a tangle of chords, and he's sort of like integrating himself with everything around him, building, expanding. Also, any opportunity to kind of draw like circuitry, spreading on stuff. It's very like 90s cyberpunk kind of stuff. I don't know. But also just to fiddle with these chords and make them look fun and interesting, and just cram detail into things. This drawing ended up taking a couple hours, more than one doodle session, mostly because I was just having so much fun fiddling with it. Trying to figure out the background was also its own kind of unique challenge. But back to Pokemon. Yeah, I don't know. The last few games have been fine, but they just seem to be lacking something. Like I saw the one on Switch 2, couldn't even tell you its name, the Pokemon that stays in one city. It's funny because the way I can almost, judge a successful game when it comes to like Pokemon, that sort of thing, is how much I see it on YouTube, like on people doing Let's Plays on it. And I saw all of like one when it came to this, that Pokemon. People kind of got the gist of it immediately, and they're like, oh, this is boring. Yeah. Otherwise, like Pokopia or whatever, however people say it, that looks kind of fun. I know it's, just Animal Crossing, but with Pokemon. But hey, don't have to reinvent the wheel, man. It's like, it's a good game model. It's kind of like when companies were cranking out, God of War likes. They were fine, and I liked them, because they stuck with a good model. They had a good combo system. Dante's Inferno is probably my favorite one on the PS3. And yeah, it's like, sure, yeah, and people are like, well, they're just ripping off God of War. It's like, well, doy, like, so it's a good game. Like, if something's good, people are gonna, imitate it. There's a reason why there's a million Souls likes out there, or like, so many games try to be the next Skyrim or the next Halo, or that sort of thing. So for me, with Pokemon, it feels like they've sort of just worn this track into the ground, and they don't really deviate from it. 3D Pokemon was interesting, after like Sun and Moon, and Sword and Shield were fun, but by the time I got to Scarlet, I'm like, okay, we've done this. Yeah, I've got a Pokemon motorcycle I can run around on, and you have a big open world, but there's not a whole lot going on, and I've seen all these Pokemon, and okay, here's my other beef. There's no bad guys and there's no rivals anymore. They since they switched over to, it's not your rival, it's your best friend who's also doing Pokemon, but they aren't traveling with you, but they show up to challenge you when you don't freaking want them to. And they don't know about like, type weaknesses and things like that. So when you rock them, they're like, oh my gosh, I keep letting myself down. Gee willikers, guys, I'm gonna try so hard next time. You'll see. And that's it. Whereas you go to Pokemon Red and Blue, and Gary shows up and he's like, sup punk, I'm gonna make your Pokemon cry, and then I'm gonna go sleep with your mom. It's like, it was more fun to have a little bit of pushback, and there were bad guys with big devious end the world kind of plans, rather than it's like, I'm gonna fix all the games and I don't know, build a casino. Or I honestly can't, that shows how little the stories like rub off on me. I can't remember what anything happens in these games. I know Scarlet and Violet have to do with like time travel or something like that. Yeah. So as you can tell, yeah, it didn't stick. It doesn't stand out. Whereas, most Zelda games, I can tell you what was going on with them. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this here doodle. My DrawmeaRobot for the month of June. And yeah, hope you guys are enjoying your summer thus far, and not getting too hot. It is. I don't know about you folks, but I am melting. Anywho, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. We'll see you next time.